भगवान राम की नगरी कैसे सज गई, कैसे राममय हो गई, कैसे गंगामय हो गई। अभी से
Okay, so hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this evening's talk. And I can see that we've reached the maximum capacity in our Zoom meeting. So uh, the remaining people have to be, I cannot admit them. So remaining people have to go on the YouTube live, right? So if you can hear me, just type, just type. What I want you to do is, if you can hear me, just type yes on your chat windows, right? Just type yes on your chat windows. Fantastic. Right. Very good. It's great to see all of you. Very good. And if you can see me, just write video yes. Video yes. If you can see me properly, just write video yes. Very good. Fantastic. It's great. So we can start our talk. So thank you very much. And you. I had to do a lot of work to get this talk. This was a full-fledged course which I used to do, and today I thought I will share this very useful talk with all of you. And I have spoken to more than 50 companies to get these tips from all the companies to know what they exactly want to from the candidates. So this talk is I'm going to tell you some incidents. I'm going to tell you some case studies, and I'm going to share with you some very, very useful tips which you will not get in any of the books. So this is learned through experience and talking to the people who actually take interviews. So most of you are there in the students, and this has been designed specially by me for the cadets and the TMEs, so that when you pass out from your institutes, so you will be appearing and preparing for job interviews, selection interviews for multinational shipping companies, and you will have to go and appear for these interviews. So at that time, some of the people who I spoke to, who I'm speaking to over so many months, some of the students are completely lost. They don't know how to answer, what to answer. So today I'm going to share all these fantastic tips which I've gathered through experience and by talking to all these people, and this is hopefully going to be a very, very useful um, talk session for all of you. So this is let's begin, and this is an interview preparation talk. So actually this is made for TME and cadets, but it can be utilized because I'm going to share some special tips. So this can be utilized uh, uh, by anybody who's preparing themselves to appear for interviews. Right. Yes. So what we will do is I'll just complete my talk first, and then we will have a small and short interactive session and question answer session. So if you have any questions, just type in your chat windows, and I will get back to you at the end of this session, right? So let us see. Right. So just type in your chat windows, please, if you can see my slide, if you can see my presentation. Just type in yes on your chat windows. Yes, yes, yes. Slide, yes. Fantastic. Okay. So now you must be wondering what kind of slide is this? And let me tell you, this is a visual site of, this is a common site that you can see in the signals, in the traffic signals in India, when you stop your car maybe for 1 minute at the traffic signals, and then in that 1 minute you get a plethora of a lot of people coming onto your cars and trying to sell certain things, right? So I'm sure all of you must have seen this at some point in your time. You must have seen this happening, right? So now it's a very interesting thing that, you know, normally I conduct another course which is called the manning workshop. So this manning workshop, in the sense, I share tips on how to sell and how to do crewing, how to do manning, how to sell, basically. So in that, this becomes a case study, because I personally think that these kind of people, since they get only 30 seconds to 40 seconds or 1 minute to sell their stuff, they are one of the best salespersons you can ever have. And you know, the interesting part is that they've never had sales training. They've never had Zoom meetings. They've never attended any online webinars, but they can sell you a book in 30 seconds. So you can imagine that how many books they have, and they're going to show you something and which they're going to buy. So the reason for me to show this is that I believe, and I very strongly believe, that everything in life is about selling. जो दिखता है वो बिकता है. And it's how you sell your products and services and how you sell yourself. So in this lecture, I'm going to talk about selling yourself in the very little time that you find yourself in the opposite side of the table, and how you maximize your potential, how you maximize your resources in that 30 seconds, maybe not 30 seconds, maybe 1 hour, maybe 2 hours, but in how to maximize your resources in that very limited period of time, so that you can make a viable impression to people to buy in your products and buy in your services, right? So this was the salutations to these sellers which come to you at the traffic signal, right? Now, okay, so then I would generally want to tell you how these interviews are conducted, how the selection interviews are conducted. So selection interviews happen, and I'm talking about all companies in general. The selection interviews happen either from campus placements, that people go in the institutes and do a campus interviews of students. We have the third year students or second year students. Then once they shortlist these candidates, you are asked to come for an online test. And this online test can be inside the company, or it can be, some companies outsource the online test. So you've got to go and give a psychometric test online, and then only the candidates who pass are called for the personal interview. So these are general guidelines. It differs from company to companies, but as a whole, this is the structure of how you will be asked to come for an interview. And then some companies have psychometric tests. Some companies even go for physical tests. I have not going to take any names of companies here, and we are all talking of multinational shipping companies here. And one company, makes you run for about 3 kilometers just to check whether you can complete. Maybe they'll ask you to run around the ground, and they'll watch you, not with a stopwatch, but they'll watch you and how your physical fitness is at any point of time. Then, of course, you do a medical. Some companies do a medical before they call you for interviews. Some companies are doing the medical after your shortlisting, after you're shortlisted. So this medical is done by companies, and it's a major part of the selection procedure. Then, how are selection interviews conducted? And then comes the personal interviews. In the personal interviews, when you are called and you come and you attend, I will take the personal interviews section in details later down the lecture, but you are asked some basic questions, or you are asked some technical questions, you are asked some behavioral questions, So this is the form of the questions that you are asked in the personal interview. When they call you one-to-one, they can have group discussions also, but generally the personal interviews are one-to-one, so they'll ask you some basic questions and technical questions and behavioral questions, right? Now, why do these companies conduct interviews? Ask yourself. Now, before I'm going to tell you how you're going to appear for and how we're going to prepare for the interviews, you have to understand the objectives. If you do not understand the objectives of why a company conducts interviews, then it will be very difficult for you to prepare. So the reason why I'm telling you is this, that companies receive hundreds of CVs, okay? They have avenues, they work with consultants, they work with training institutes, they work with placement agencies. Why do companies have to conduct interviews in the first place? Because why don't they just pick up a CV and say, okay, come to our office, and then hand you the appointment letter and say you're selected in my company? The reason is that, they want the best fish from the pond. So there is a pond and there is a lot of fish. So they want the best fish from the pond. Otherwise, it doesn't make sense for them to just take any Tom, Dick, and Harry who walks into their rooms, right? So that is the reason why companies form interviews and conduct interviews. So this is my take on why companies conduct interviews. Basically, what are the companies looking at when they call you for an interview. You have to understand, in order to prepare for the interviews, you need to understand what the objectives of the company is. So the companies who are looking to get the right candidates are looking for basically three things: the V, G, and I. So that's what I call them the VGI effect. What is the VGI of a company that's looking? The V is for value, right? Where they want to see what value you bring to the organization. Okay, so V is very important, is value. Now you have to understand that a company is not a charity organization, right? There are charity organizations which is a company. Of course, we are not talking about going for an interview in a charity or an NGO or an organization which does social work. We are talking of a business enterprise which is taking in cadets and TMEs to send on the ships. So the business enterprise is a commercial enterprise, and they are looking for value. Okay, and what they are looking to employ people who bring in value to any organization. Secondly, and very important part of why they want you in the organization is they want to find out whether you will add to the growth of the company. Imagine you have a company and you're investing $100,000 in the company, and there comes a person who can increase that $100,000 to maybe $200,000. So obviously the company will gain, right? So the value in terms of growth is also persistent in what persons and what people they recruit, right? So if you are a person who they see will grow with the organization and you will add to the growth of the organization, then you have a better chance of getting through to the interview. Remember, there is a pond, there is a huge amount of fish, there's hundreds and thousands of fish. You have to be the fish, not to be, you have to be the fish which get picked up. I mean, not in the literal sense, of course. In the fish, it's something different, because if you get picked up, you die. But here in the pond, if you in the middle of those 1,000 fish, you need to be the fish that gets selected. So V is for value, G is for growth, and then you have I. I is investment. Remember, I told you the company is a business and a commercial enterprise. So they need to understand whether you are an investment. So in their eyes, if you're sitting opposite to the table, in their eyes, they are watching you as a safe, you know. So जैसे safe खोलेगा ना, तो पैसा है कि नहीं, in the sense growth है कि नहीं, value है कि नहीं, whether you have, they have goodwill लाओगे कि नहीं. So they need to see whether you are a viable investment, because at the end of the day, they're going to invest time, money, energy. They're going to pay you for the services that you bring in. And if you're not investment, then you turn to be a liability. And if you're a liability, then you will enter into a loss, and the company will lose money, lose property, lose goodwill, lose reputation, they get to lose everything. And it's vice versa. So by knowing the value, the growth, and the investment you bring in, the company is about, it's estimating whether you are going to be a viable project or you are going to bring loss to the company. So remember VGI, and it should not lead to L. Right. So why do companies conduct selection interviews? And you must be asking yourself, and it will help you prepare for this. Selection interviews are conducted on the basis of a company wanting to get somebody who fits into the organizational culture. Now, when I say organizational culture, a lot of people term this as different. They term it maybe as organizational behavior. Whether organizational culture or behavior, the company needs to see whether you will fit in the organizational culture, whether you have the same amount of values that, or you have the similar values that you can share these values with the organization, and you can fit in the organizational culture in the company. Second is they need to see, or they want to see whether you have value, leadership, teamwork, and ethics. In our shipping industry, it's very important that you have leadership and teamwork ethics traits. They do not want a leader because they want to make a leader. So, you know, they want to see whether they can make you into a leader, that you have the traits. It's not necessary for you to be a full-grown leader and come in and say, I'm already a leader. No, it's okay if you're not a leader, but as long as you have these traits, as long as you have the trait of teamwork, the ethics and integrity. The most amount I talk to a lot of managing directors and CEOs in my line of work, and the most important leadership value that I find in most common in most of them is integrity and ethics. So big companies and large companies, I'm sure all of you here watching this and hearing this, hear me speak, want to get employed with larger companies of repute, global organizations. So all of them want people with high integrity. Then thirdly is skills. They want to know whether you're skilled in the kind of jobs that you're appearing for, right? Nautical, engineering. So they need to know whether you're skilled enough with the kind of jobs that you're appearing, right? So it need not be that you're, so they have basic criteria. That means either you're an engineer or you're a mechanical engineer, or you are a cadet which is coming in with a particular certification. So they need to know exactly whether you're skilled and whether you will continue to having that skills, which they can develop over time when they send you on board. And fourth most important part I find when I talk to people who are interviewing candidates is they want to see whether you are a long-term employee. This is, if I were to be asked, what is the single most important factor of preparing for an interview, or the determinant of choosing a right candidate, companies have all unanimously told me they're looking for people who will stay with them, long-term employment. I'll come back to this later because it's too much deep into, so I need to tell you the importance of this for you to understand, and how this should reflect in the answers that you give while the interviews are being conducted, right? So the objectives, now why the companies want to interview, the objectives now why and what the companies want to see in people. Now I will go on to something which I want to say, and that is factors that affect the interview. What are the factors that affect the interview of a candidate, right? Facts and factors of the most interview that people are coming. So now the basic preparations, right? When I've spoken to all these people who have taken these interviews, and they say that we just want to answer and ask basic questions. We don't want to ask them a lot of theoretical stuff, right? We do not want to ask them the definition of something that they don't know. We just want to ask them certain basic things because we want to know whether they have that knowledge, that basic knowledge, right? Just type in your chat windows if you can see my presentation, please. Just type yes on your chat windows. Just type in your chat windows if you can see. Yes is there. Right. So they're going to ask you questions on what you have studied, right? They are not going to ask you questions, answers of which you don't know, or you probably would not know. So don't expect answers, don't expect to be asked questions that are astronomically difficult to answer. So they're not looking to put you in a fix. Remember one thing, the companies have called you for an interview because they need candidates. It's not that they do not want to employ you. They do want to employ you, and they want to give you a fair chance to answer those questions. So they do not want to put you in a spot. However, they want to put you in a spot asking you things which are very basic and what you've studied. So if you don't know what you've already studied, that means you're in a zone which, that means you're not well prepared. They are not looking for extraordinary intelligence. Our shipping industry is such that you do not need extraordinary people. You need ordinary people doing extraordinary jobs. So we do not need people of high intelligence. You don't need to be an Einstein, right? If you are an Einstein, and if you find out that you have the potential of being an Einstein, believe me, they will not recruit you, because again, going back to the long-term employment, I have spoken to people and they've said, we could not take that person because I thought he was too intelligent for our industry. So, the kind of things that they feel when they are interviewing you is that if you're too intelligent, then you probably won't stay. But that does not mean that it's a very, very bad thing to be extraordinarily intelligent. Of course, it's something, if you're extraordinarily intelligent, then it's a trait which is of course, above the ordinary, right? But what I'm trying to tell you is that do not try to be extraordinary in your intelligence, right? Do not try to prepare yourself such that you try to portray that you're extraordinary. No, You try to portray that you're just an ordinary person who knows the basics and who knows what stuff you're being taught, right? They want to approve. They do not want to reject any candidates. But then some companies have given people second and third chances. So, a few months back, I got a call from one of the cadets, and they said, "Sir, can you help me? I'm not getting a chance in any company. I've appeared in many, many interviews." So I asked him, I said, what is your preparation level? And I asked him a few questions. And I was very sorry to say, find out that he absolutely has no knowledge about the basic things. So when I asked him why he did not know these basic things, he said, "Sir, it's been quite some time that I've left the institute, so I've not studied." I said, "Say, if you have not studied, then you please do not expect the companies to hire you, because the companies will only hire you if they find that you are up to the mark, right? They will not hire you if they do not find that you are up to the mark, because that this is no charity game, right? So there are certain things which is a big no. I'm going to tell you, rather than telling you stuff that you should do, I'm going to tell you now stuff that you should not do, right? It's easier to understand what you should not do, because there are a lot of things that you can do. So there are endless amount of stuff that people can give you things about that you can do. But here I'm going to share certain things of things that you should not do. One is, when you're appearing for an interview, be careful when you say, "I have forgotten," right? It's a very disastrous thing to say to somebody. If somebody asks you the basics of magnetism, and you will say, "Sir, I have forgotten," then that this is not what the companies would like to hear when you're going for a job interview. So you have to know your basics, and please prepare yourselves for going while going to the interview, right? So it's better not to say, "I have forgotten." I will tell you how to answer these questions later, but for beginners and who's going to an interview for the first time, maybe, please do not use the words "I have forgotten." And what do you say? I will tell you this later in the lecture, what you have to say, right? Then, do not focus on behavioral traits, focus on skills. So if they're asking you any questions, do not focus on personality, focus on skills. I will give you an example. So if somebody, somebody was asked, "What is your greatest weakness?" And when he asked him what is the greatest weakness, he said, "Sir, my greatest weakness is that I have a very short temper. So I start throwing things. I throw things at my father. I throw things at my mother. एक बार तो मेरा पिताजी का सर भी फोड़ दिया था मैंने." So things like this, So imagine what is going to be happening to the person who's asking you this question, and he's thinking that you will be doing the same thing when you go on board. So you will be starting throwing things on your chief officer and your master. So when you're faced with such questions, try your answer, try to tweak, and try to fine tune your answer, so that you don't go on to your personality skills. You go on to focus on your behavioral skill. Do not focus on your behavioral skills. Focus on your skills, and that means occupational skills. For example, if they ask you, "What is your greatest weakness?" you say, "Sir, my greatest weakness," and just an example I'm giving you, might say whatever answer you feel like. But so if somebody asks you, "What is your greatest weakness?" you say, "Sir, my greatest weakness is that I'm unable to keep change with the digitalization of the economy. So I need to be reskilling myself and trying to learn Microsoft Excel. Or I think I am a little bit weak in the IT, so I'm taking a few courses." So you understand what I'm trying to say. Don't focus on personality traits. Focus on skills, right? So this is a professional interview. If you focus too much on your personality traits, people will know what kind of person you are. So try to focus on your strengths, but try to give out as less data about your personality, because you never know sometimes, in the heat of the moment, you might say something silly, like I said. So always focus, try to focus on your skills. Then, extraordinary intelligence, I have told you, don't try to portray that you're extraordinarily intelligent. People don't want extraordinary intelligence. They want basic intelligence, right? Don't make up things. I've seen people, and I've spoken to people who have made up things in interview, which never happened, right? So you can't make up things, because one of the traits that the companies are looking up to you is honesty, And if you start making up things, start cooking up your own recipes inside the room, then you will not know yourself what you're trying to make up. So it doesn't work out that way. Never try to make up things, because that is against the honesty. So for example, if this doesn't work, I will go back to my dad's business. One of the participants was asked this question and I will give you, after this lecture, I will give you some stereotypical, the kind of normal questions that are asked. So this student was asked this question: if why do you want to uh, this merchant navy is a very difficult profession. Why do you want to join the merchant navy? And he said, sir, I'm just taking a chance, and if this doesn't work, I've got all my I've got my dad's business. I'll go back to my dad's business. So imagine if you're sitting on the other end and you want a long-term candidate, and what will you start thinking? You start thinking he might be the world's best candidate, but he's not going to stay with me. Why will I invest my time, money, energy on training this candidate, because he's not going to stay with me? So be very careful on what you're saying. Your focus should be giving the employees the kind of trust that you are going to stick to them for a long, long time. So if you tell them any answers where they feel that you're not going to stay with them for a long time, then they are not going to invest on you, right? So you have to be very, very careful on this. Then I have these golden rules, which I'm going to tell you. I'm going to tell you these 3 P's. I say these 3 P's, and if you master these 3 P's, then you will master the art of interview preparation, right? So these 3 P's are to prepare, to present, and to process. So I'm going to take these 3 P's separately. One is to prepare. I will tell you now how to prepare for the interview. I will tell you how to present yourself for the interview, and I will tell you the process of the interview. While you are in the interview, what are the things you should do, and what are the things that is definitely not on the cards, which you should not do, right? So these are my golden P's, and I said these are the 3 P's of the interview selection, right? So number one is to prepare. How do you prepare for an interview, right? So most of the 75% of the people who go for an interview are unprepared. And I'm talking about cadets and interviews here, cadets and TMEs here, right? So you don't know what to prepare. And this is perhaps one of the most important things that the companies are looking at. Companies are looking at finding out how well you're prepared for the company. So research about the company. Do some research about the company. This is again the single most important thing. If you do this, what I'm saying and the way I'm saying, if you do this, it will give you a 75% chance of getting selected better than what the others, right? So like I told you, the 75% of the people don't prepare for the interviews. They do not do research about the company. So nowadays, getting to know about somebody or some company is very, very easy. Like this is the digitization in social networking. You can go to their LinkedIn profile, visit their websites, go to their Facebook profile, talk to employees who are past or present or future, or even now working in that company. Try to find out each and everything about that company. Do some research about that company, so that when you're asked questions about, and you're going to be surely asked questions on what you know about a company, so you can know and you can tell them. So take down notes, prepare yourself, know about the, like the profits the companies are making, know about the business plans, what is their future of growth, what kind of investments they have done in the market, what kind of solution based services that they are trying to give to their clients. What are the companies, how well are the companies located in across the globe, how many branches the companies have, what is the India operations, what is the growth, what is your growth potential in the company. So try to know exactly, everything about the company. So the more the better here. So there is no end to this. The more you know about the company, the better you will be preparing about the company. Like I said, this is very important. It's extremely important. I still find a lot of people, you going for an interview and you ask them a simple question about that. So there was this candidate who was being interviewed by uh, again a major company, one of the world's largest company, in the campus interviews. And he was asked, what is your career aspirations? And he said, sir, my career aspiration is to join a tanker company, because I have always wanted to join tankers, and my father's brother, and my father's brother's brother, and everybody in the family have always told me that it's the tanker market that's going to grow. So I'm going to join the tanker company, and I'm looking for a very, very bright future with you. But then, the interviewer looked at him and said, "My friend, we don't have any tankers. We are a bulk carrier company. What do you say to that?" So that guy was stopped, because he's already committed that he's going to join a company. So you have actually, like Kalidas, you have actually cut the branch that you're sitting on. So research about the company, and then say what you have to say about the company, because don't let them come back and you come back at you and find out and point to you that you have not done enough research, right? You need to know what documents to carry. So when you are, and this is talking about the preparation, when you go to an interview, please carry all the relevant documents. Normally it's the passports and the CDCs and the certificates, and ask them, and carry documents in original about the recommendations, the references that you have, certificates. You can just call the reception up and find out before you go for an interview, find out what documents are you need to carry. It's very embarrassing for a candidate to come to an interview, and then the interviewer asks you, have you brought your CV? And then you say, no sir, I have it in my file computer, and my computer has been given to the old lady who stays all by herself in Bandra, and I am into social service. I help her, so I've given my laptop to her so that she can study, and she can watch movies. So it's there, and I don't have a computer. So see where the discussion is going, and all because you do not have the documents handy. So please keep all the documents ready, and try to find out from the reception what kind of documents you would need. Questions, and I give a pause here. Questions. Why I'm pausing here? Most of you, when I say questions, you're thinking of what questions you're being asked. The very, very major part of the interview and point in the interview is what questions you can ask, right? So prepare some very good questions that you're going to ask the interviewer about the company, about the job, about the skills, about the training. How will you know what questions to ask is when you do some research. When you do this research, and when you go onto the website and you do this research, then you will check that you have a lot of questions that you can ask people. So at the end of the interview, normally the interviewer will ask you, do you have any questions? And at that time, no sir. Most of the cadets and TMEs say, no sir, I don't have any questions. But this is where you can make a mark. People who ask intelligent questions prove that they are better learners, and that they have the traits of doing research. So interviews, if you ask good questions, then the interviewers will be impressed, right? So it's not a question of it's not a question of impressing everybody, but it's just a question of letting them know that you have done your homework, right? So asking questions is a major part of preparing for interviews. Study facts, data. Data is all what matters to a business enterprise. Without data, there's nothing. So more than emotions, it's data counts, right? So if you have your data right, you know what kind of ships they have, what is the cargo quantities they have, what is their figures in the market. So you will obviously find that these data and facts will help you to prepare. I will come back to this data and how you can use this knowledge of data to understand to appear for interview better, right? So keep taking notes. This is again a very important thing. So I'll give you a small incident where I was interviewing a candidate, and of course I was an observer. I was observing the interview of a candidate, and this candidate was being interviewed by a very, very senior captain. And so while he was being asked the question of, they were asking a question, and every time he was asking a question and he was writing something down. So ultimately the interviewer got a little bit impatient, said, what are you taking down? Why do you have to need to take down notes? So then the candidate looked at the interview and said, sir, I'm sorry, but it's always a learning process, and I'm learning a lot of things in this interview from you, and I'm just taking down my learnings in my notebook. So I will go home right now, and whatever I don't know that you've asked me, I'll try to brush up my knowledge. Now this is a killer. This was a killer, because it is only this sentence that got him the job. They don't want to know anything else. They just employed him because he said this. So company is not knowing that when you are appearing for a TME or a career interview, the company doesn't want to know whether you have the skills to become a master or whether you have the skills to become a chief engineer. You will definitely not portray those skills at that time. What they need to know is to see that you have an attitude of constant learning. So, and this is what he did. So, when you know something, when you're doing something, you're not just trying to do it because I'm telling you here that you have to do it, but I'm trying to build this value inside you that learning is a continuous process. And if you can portray that learning is a continuous process, then you will get noticed. So it's all about getting noticed. Remember my incident about my story about the fish in the pond. It's all about getting noticed, right? On the other hand, I will tell you another story where I came across another candidate who, at the middle of the interviewer found out that this guy was recording the whole interview. So in that, it turned out to be that interviewer asked him, "Are you recording the interview?" He said, "Yes, sir." I said, "You should have asked me." So you never record an interview without asking somebody, right? So because it can be against the company policy, it can be against data privacy, it can be against data breach. So you cannot do something like this. So this is being over intelligent, So what I'm trying to say is, don't try to prove that you're over intelligent by doing such things, which is absolutely a no-no. So you don't do this. And when I tell you these stories are all true, and maybe you will not do it, but it happens. So these are very, very important lessons to learn, right? Number 2 is how you present yourself. How you present yourself is very important. First, number 1 was preparing for the interview. I told you all these things. Number 2 is how you present yourself in an interview. By presentation, you mean the first thing which comes into mind is never be late. Again, a very, very one of the largest ship owners in the world was the India representative MD was taking an interview, and I happened to be in their office. So he picked up the phone and he told the receptionist, just write down the time of all the cadets when all the cadets come into the lobby. Write down the time. And the interview was supposed to start at 10 a.m. in the morning. Anybody who walked in after 10 a.m. was not admitted to the interview. He was sent home. He or she was sent home. Now, some people are very, very strict on time. Now, how is this that you maintain that never be late? In a place like Mumbai or Bangalore and anywhere where traffic is rules are live, how do you ensure that you are never late? Now, this is an answer that you have to give yourself. I cannot answer this. I can only tell you that there are circumstances when you cannot meet the time, right? It happens to all of us. But there is a process. When you don't meet the time, then you call that person up, or you send them an official mail and call up the receptionist and say, such and such thing has happened, which is an emergency, and I cannot be at that particular time. Can we reschedule this? Or can you tell the interviewer I'll be there after 15 minutes? Because you think that you're too scared, most of you are too scared about going into an interview, because you're too scared, you think it will be a derogatory thing to just call up. But no, the moment you call up, you're on record that he has come late, but he did inform us that he will be late. The blasphemy is that, that you don't inform anybody and still walk in late as if, this is my father's restaurant. It doesn't happen like this, because it is not your father's restaurant. It's a company, and it is not my father's restaurant. I can walk in. In fact, if my father would have had a restaurant, he would never allow me late even there too. So this is again a skill that you need to develop, and this is a process which you need to maintain. Right. So I'm going to give you some. I'm going to give you some tips on how to present yourself better. Stay trimmed. Get a good haircut, and by good haircut, I don't mean that you don't do what you want. You won't do whatever you want, but get a good haircut. Clean shaven, give a warm smile, because when you're smiling and extending your arm and saying that, hi, it's nice to meet you, how are you? You're giving away a feel of confidence. So you are actually confident. So the body language should be such that you're smiling. Even if you're scared, you should know that it's okay to be scared. Even I'm scared. So I'm very scared sometimes, but then that doesn't mean that I'm low on confidence. I'm scared because I'm scared because I am worried whether I'm going to live up to my potential. But try to be as jovial as possible, not giving away too many things. Don't smile. Smile all the time, and extend your hand, warm handshake, correct body posture. Remember, this is where companies are judging. So you have to show them, what they would like to see in a candidate. So it is like that 1 hour that you get in the traffic signal, right? How to present yourself in an interview. Smile, respond truthfully, don't lie. Never lie in interview. If you don't know something, I'll tell you how to answer things that you don't know. And wear clothing that fits you. Some of the people I've found that you don't have a suit, so you don't have a suit, so you borrow something, and then, like a 25, 22-year-old guy wearing a 40 years old suit for person, and that doesn't fit. Ill-fitting clothes, no, do not wear ill-fitting clothes. And the first impression determines 38% of your confidence. So if you're confident, it will win you 38% of the battle. And the way you dress is 55, right? It is 55%. So it doesn't necessarily mean that you are going to have the most expensive shoes in the world. But what it means is that even if you have a 200 rupee shoes that you're wearing, it has to be clean and it has to be shining. So remember, how you dress, how you appear will all determine your body posture and will give that warm feeling to your employer, right? So because this is what he's going to invest in. Third is but still, I think there's still some people who want to come in, but unfortunately the Zoom line is full. Use your preparation data here. So now you have presented yourself, you have entered, you've prepared yourself, you've presented yourself, and now you're appearing for the interview. So how do you appear is here you're using the preparation data. That means the preparations that all the time, all the hours that you've spent in doing research about the company, about preparing, here is the time that you are preparing the data and you're presenting that data to the company, okay? So here is where you're trying to make a mark. And how you do it is that you have basic knowledge on the subject matter, right? So like I said, have basic knowledge about everything. And it's very important that all of you reading newspapers to have basic knowledge. And people are going to ask you, companies are going to ask you on various issues. Some of them, they don't want to know whether you have specialized knowledge in some subject, but only thing they want to know is that you have basic knowledge. Intelligence, good communication skill. This is what the company is looking at to finding out whether you have these basic knowledge about subject matter. Intelligence, good communication skills, how to get the message across, analytical ability. So if you go to Google and find out analytical questions, so you'll get a whole lot of questions which you can practice in your homes, which will develop your analytical skills. So it's about analyzing data. So if I give you 5 solutions, then out of that 5 solutions, which solutions do you think is the best is what the analytical ability is, right? So it's very important ability, very important skill that is useful in the merchant navy, because as you grow up the ranks, you will be having to take split-second decisions, and in order to take decisions, you need to have a very clear analytical mind. Problem-solving ability. Don't focus. Your questions answers should be such that you don't focus on problems, you focus on solutions. So if you're asked something like, what do you think is the major challenge, and you start telling about your foot pain and that pain which never went away, and so that doesn't work. So you have to be problem solving rather than creating problems, right? You have to come with an attitude which is problem solving. Logical reasoning, and again, logical reasoning answers are questions you can find on Google. Long-term career goals. They want to know what is your long-term career goals, right? They needed to know whether your trustworthiness, whether they can trust you to stay for a longer time. You have to have a strong value system, and there's a lot of debate which goes on in value system and how you can share values with the organization. This is something you need to do a research. So when you're doing a research on the companies, when you're preparing for the interviews, so you need to understand and know what are their value system, what is the company's values. Values are the pillars on which the company strives. So if you talk about Tatas, so immediately the Tatas are of a high integrity, high value system, so high culture company. So if you join a multinational company, all of them will have their own values. So you need to know whether your values can be shared, because ultimately you've got to align your personal values with that of the organization. So that is again what the companies want to check. Companies want to see whether the values are possible to be aligned with your organization. Then what the companies want to check is about knowledge about the company and whether you have done that research. Then you have the career aspirations and good attitude and nature, smiling, right? Basic understanding of the job you are supposed to do. If they are employing you for a cadet or a TME or a junior engineer, you need to specify and you need to find out, they need to find out whether you have the capability of doing that job you're supposed to do, right? This is one thing which I all tell everybody, that in an interview, do not try to impress, because if your objective is to impress, then you will go about saying things and doing things which is not you. And this is where you stand the chance and stand the risk of misinterpretation, showing something that you're not yourself. So you don't want to go out of your way and try to impress the person to an extent that you try to show them what you're not, because ultimately that's not what your objective is. Your objective is to show them what you are, show them your actual strengths and weaknesses, and express. So please do not try to impress, express. Please try to express yourself. If you express yourself properly, then obviously you will end up in impressing them. So you need to go back on your career, go back on your childhood, go back on your college days and institute days, and pick up stories. Prepare stories of your past achievements. Don't cook up stories, but prepare. So I had this candidate who came and said, sir, I was a gold medalist in the track and field events in my institute for the last 5 years, and this company was paying a lot of attention to a lot of detailing into the physical part of an interview. So the company went back to the institute and they wanted the certificates. But it came out that the institute said that he had no such certificate. He never even took part in any track and field event. So he was just trying to impress and cooking up some stories, thinking that the company pays a lot of attention. Ultimately, you will lose, because it is you who are going to win. If you don't have that trait, ultimately it's lose. So it's okay to say stories, but the stories have to be real ones, right? Right. So normally I give a break during my courses, but then this is a lecture, so I'm going to clip trot and not give a break, because I'm going to take questions after this, right? So what do you know about a company? These are some of the questions that are asked by some FAQs, frequently asked questions that are asked by companies. What do you know about a company? This is where your research will come in handy. Where do you see yourself in the next 5 years? Now, we do have a special advanced course on interview preparations, and I will tell you how to register for that course in future. But these are, because it's very difficult to talk to you about all the questions, because there are many questions. There are a few hundreds FAQs that are normally asked to candidates, and some of them can put you really in a fix. But once you know the principles in answering questions correctly, it's very easy for you to answer all the questions. Like things like, where do you see yourself in the next 5 years? So this person was sitting in an interview, and the captain asked him, where do you see yourself in the next 5 years, young man? And he says, sir, I see myself in your chair. So it's like you're trying to take away his job. So don't be threatening. If they're asking you to be, to tell him where you're going to be in the next 5 years, they want to know whether you're ambitious. And it's okay to be ambitious. It's okay to be career oriented. They want to know whether you want to grow. So they wouldn't want you to become a third officer for the rest of your life. So answers to this question is, the possible answer that you could have given him is, or her, is that you want to stay in the company and you want to grow and give your exams in time, and you want to ensure that you are if you're a cadet, in the next 5 years you become a chief officer in your company and sailing on your premier-most fleet. So that is what they are trying to look at, right? So don't tell them obnoxious answers. What lessons have the coronavirus pandemic taught us? I'm sure if I were to take an interview today, I would ask this question. Remember, the world has changed from the last 4 months, and nothing is same, and nothing is going to be the same in the next few years, and nothing is going to be the same from what it was. So what lessons have the coronavirus pandemic taught us? I cannot give you these answers. There can be plentiful answers, but again, your attitude about how the world resources and how we have destroying the earth, and everything will come into matter and show them how much you know about the world, right? So this is one question which is normally asked now. What are your strengths and weaknesses? When you talk about weaknesses, don't say kryptonite, because if you say kryptonite, you're meaning you're Superman. Don't try to be perfect. What are your strengths? Please tell them your actual strengths and weaknesses. Again, try to use, do not use behavioral strengths and weaknesses. And when they tell you what is your strength, don't tell them, sir, I can lift up 100 bricks at the same time. No, it's not the physical strengths that they want to know. They want to know your mental ability. Okay, you're strong physically, that's okay. But my friend, physical strength will only take you to that level. So in order to go to the next level, you need the mental strength. So tell them about your strengths, what you do well, what you have done well, what are the challenges you faced, what are your weaknesses. When you talk about, it's very important that you talk about weaknesses, because each one of us, don't say, I don't, sir, I don't think, my father and mother never pointed out any weaknesses to me, because fathers and mothers will never point out any weaknesses in their children. But you do have weaknesses, right? All of us have weaknesses. I mean, if I were to jot down tomorrow about my weaknesses, I think I can write a book on that. So, but it's okay. I mean, I'm human, so that's what we all are. We are all human beings, and it's okay to be weak, and it's okay to be scared a little. But then, what I would want to do is maybe convert these weaknesses into strengths. So do a SWOT analysis. And if you don't know SWOT analysis, then you can come and join us in one of our courses. We will have a detailed course on the SWOT analysis, personal SWOT analysis. So you know your strengths and know your weaknesses, and that's what they also want to know, whether you can be aligned, your strengths and weaknesses can be aligned with that of the organization. So why do you want to join the Merchant Navy? Because I want loads of cash, and I have the wife at every port. And of course, nowadays, you with the coronavirus, you cannot go ashore, so you cannot have a wife in every port. So I don't want to join the Merchant Navy now. I want to join the Merchant Navy again when the pandemic ends and the lockdown is lifted. Is this a good answer? No, obviously not. I don't even need to tell you to write down in the chat windows. Of course, it's not a good answer, because why do you want to join the Merchant Navy? This is where you can actually kill it. This is where this answer can be given so well. This is where you can be actually making a really good mark. So you can say things like, sir, I'm proud, I want to serve my nation. I want to serve, it's the second line of defense, and I couldn't get into the actual Navy. And so I wanted to join the Merchant Navy. I wanted to add to people's lives, add value to people's lives, because Merchant Navy that never stops. Shipping never stops, even during the pandemic, when everybody, each businesses were closed down. Each one of the people were working behind closed doors. The sailors were out in the sea fighting as the frontliners of COVID warriors. So I want to be a part of this brigade. I want to be proud and do something for my nation. And I'm very excited to join the Merchant Navy, to be contributing to the world economy, not only India. Because Merchant Navy stops, nobody will even get food on the table. So this is where, prepare your answers. This is where you can really score good marks. Which is your favorite subject? This person was asked which was your favorite subject, and again he wanted to impress. And because he wanted to just impress and not express, he said, my favorite subject is ship construction. And in the next 30 minutes, the instructor only asked him topics on ship construction, whereby he was not very good in ship construction, but he just wanted to impress the audience, impress the interviewer. So when you ask this question, be true to yourself. Just say what you are good at, because the interviewer is giving you a hint. He or she wanting to ask you questions which actually is your favorite. So he's going to ask you questions only. He's giving you a chance to answer, right? So be very careful to answering this question about favorite subject, right? How do you handle stress? Now, believe me, this is a very, very important question, which normally everybody asks now, because emotional health and well-being has become a major part of our shipping industry, and stress-related problems are cropping up. And I run a workshop for seafarers on mental health, and I know the health and the stress that the family goes through, the seafarers have to go through. And shipping is not like what it used to be 25 years back. It's much more stressful. So people need to know whether you can handle stress on board. And the cow should be where the grass is. So believe me, if you want to say, sir, if you're asked like, how do you handle stress? So there's no question of handling stress. So I don't know. So again, if I'm very stressful, then I just close the door. I don't come out of the room for 5 days. I stop all communication. I just, so I don't eat. So this is not what, that they wanted to hear, and this is not what you should do. So if you have emotional stress, everyone, it's okay to be stressful, and some people work more and work to their optimal when stressed. So stress is again a very big subject, but they want to know how you handle stress. So you need to have the answers ready for these kind of questions. A challenge you faced and how you dealt with it, how you handled it. So they're going to ask you about a challenge that you faced and how you handled it. So don't say things like, sir, I was unable to cross the road. Whenever I went to cross the road, there was a car coming, so I ran back. So I went to the zebra crossing, but even in the zebra crossing, there were two dogs on the zebra crossing. So I'm scared of dogs. So I ran back and I ran back and I could never cross the road. So I said, so I said to myself, why is it so, why is it so necessary to cross the road? I did not cross the road. I came back home. So imagine, of course, this is not what they want to hear. So the challenge which they want to ask you, and they want to find out from this question is whether you can deal with challenges. And believe me, life throws a challenge at you every second. So how do you deal with challenges? Do you take the challenge and deal with it such that you can improve on it, or you just don't deal with the challenge, and so you just run away? So how you deal with challenge? So you can say things like, sir, when I was in the institute, I was made the coach of the soccer team, and I knew that I lacked because I don't have coaching skills. So that was a huge challenge which I faced. But then I worked with the team hand in hand, and I worked with them, and they did well, and they went to the second league, and they went to the semifinals. So I found out that I turned this challenge and I've developed a new skill of coaching. So, what I'm trying to tell you is that you are highlighting your negatives, but then you are coming out with a positive from your negative. Don't highlight and end with a negative value, right? Right. So these are the ways you can answer. They will ask you about your family structure. I will come back to a further slide. I have something specially made for the family structure. They will ask you, there's a reason why they ask you, want to know who all are there in your family. So bottom line is, and one thing that goes across all the question is, why should we hire you? So this is what they're trying to exactly ask you in different words. They're trying to ask you, why should we hire you? You should give them enough reasons for them to hire you. They are not doing charity. They have hundreds of candidates. They are not going to hire you due to just as a favor being done to somebody. Believe me, there is no favor. I get a lot of calls from a lot of companies, a lot of students, many, every week, saying that, sir, so many people, please give us a recommendation. I said, see, I'm telling you, I have been part of the world's largest shipping company, not one of the largest shipping company. I was employed in V Group for 10 years, heading the safety and quality. And believe me when I say, large organizations don't go on references. Okay, so, and it's nothing wrong to go on references, because even Tata's, when they recruit, they have a referral system whereby people and the employees can refer their own candidates. But at the end of the day, if I refer somebody, you have to go through the grind. You have to go from the start to the finish, and give the interviews and give, so they're asking you, why do we hire you? They will not hire you because you are the son of so and so. It doesn't make sense to them. They will not hire you because you're a minister's son. Okay, they will not hire you because you have done something nice in your career. They will hire you if they see that you are an investment proposition for them, and you have good tenacity to bring in that VGI, value, growth, and you're an investment, so that they don't don't occur losses, right? So coming to the last bit of my presentation, how do you handle questions when you don't know the answers? There's nobody which is perfect. Even today, you ask me some questions, I will not know, some questions I will know. Basic questions you're supposed to know, but there will be some questions which you cannot answer. So what do you say? So you just say, sir, I'm sorry, I don't know. Now, this is where the debate begins. A lot of people I have spoken to believe that, some people believe, not all of them, some people believe that it's better to say, I don't know, because you're giving the honesty and you're telling them that you're honest. But then, my friend, if I'm going for a cadet interview, and if I am asked the basics of magnetism, which is how many poles does a magnet have, and I say, I don't know, what kind of what kind of behavioral or skill-based attitude am I displaying. So what I feel is, it's my personal view, and you can take it or you can go on the other one. I always try to tell people that don't say I don't know. There are various means by which you can say I don't know, but in different words. So it's better to say I'll come back to you later. It's better to say I have read this somewhere, and can I come back to you? Can I go home and revise that and come back to you? Or the best part is to say that, it's okay to, if you don't know something, but it's best part to say that I know where to find it out. So if they ask you the day of the last full moon, and you say, I don't know, that's the right answer. Or ask yourself, if you say, sir, I can easily take up the almanac and find out nobody wants you to remember the last full moon date, right? So you can take the almanac and find out the full moon, and I'll get back to you. So here is it. So practice saying not to say I don't know. Practice saying I'll get back to you, or practice saying that's a good question, and that's a lovely question, in fact. And so, but then if you say like this for too many times, then in an interview, then obviously quite. So this is assuming that you have done your homework and then you don't know something. But if you've not done your homework, then you have. Then if you say this is a lovely question, this is a lovely question, you keep on telling the interviewers that it's a lovely question, and you'll get back to them. So then the interviewer knows that actually you don't know. So be truthful and say I don't know as least as possible, right? Some key words, that phrases that companies want to hear. I'm sorry, there's a spelling mistake, I think, on top. So I'll add that. I'll rectify that in my next. So these are the good things that the companies want to hear. And when you're preparing for answers, I think you should put that in your vocabulary. So you tell people about diversity. Diversity means men and women working together. So it's a great thing that a lot of women are being now incorporated in the organizational structure of the seafarers. A lot of seafarers, when I take courses, I've trained more than 500 people in the last 2 months on online courses. And when I talk to people and I see a lot of women working with men and vice versa, we have a lot of diversity. So this is what companies like Maersk, company like Willemsen, companies like SBM, a lot of great companies in the world, like companies like Mitsui, they all have diversity and inclusion culture in their systems, embedded in their systems. So they want to know whether you have the skills of working. So please develop the skills of working, respect for women, and diversity and inclusion, right? So this is one word which you can put down in your vocabulary when you're answering question. Digitization, the whole world is changing, transforming. Change and transformation is a major part of the world today. Everything is going to change, not because of the corona alone, but because of digitization. So because of the influx of technology into our day-to-day lives, everything now is changing at an exponential rate. So again, change, transformation, and digitization should be something that you should talk about more in the interviews. Long-term employment, long-term employment, long-term employment. They want to know whether you will be staying as a cadet until a master and beyond. They want to know whether you will be joining as a TME and staying till chief engineer or a superintendent and beyond. Let them know that you're not going to leave them, right? There is no question of leaving them. They want to know whether you are there for long-term employment. Believe me, you can be the world's best, most intelligent person they have, but if they think that you're not going to stay with them, they are not going to employ you, right? Shared values, also integrity, values which you have to align with that of your organization. It's very important that you have developed these kind of values. Commercial knowledge is a very, very important thing, and try to build your commercial knowledge. Read, go to websites, know the tanker market, know the bulk carrier market, know how the cruise lines and the offshore is doing, because companies would want to know, because at the end of the day, it's all about commercial viability, right? So if you don't know about the commercial aspects of business aspects, and that reflects in your answers, then the company thinks that you have no idea, because at the end of the day, the safety is paramount. But on top of, or not on top of safety is above all. I mean, they will not, no companies will want to, want to compromise on safety. But keeping safety constant in the highest level possible, they would also want commercial attributes, commercial supremacy in the. They want to make money, they want to make profits, right? So when you grow up in your ranks, you will say you have to take decisions as a chief officer, captain, or a chief engineer, second engineer, that has a commercial bearing. How much spares are you asking? How much, what do you know how much company gets to lose if there is any wastage, if there is any spare parts wastage, if there is any pollution, if there is any incident which happens uh, for garbage disposal, or any fines. So you need to have that commercial knowledge. So it's very important that, and I stress on this a lot when I do my courses. So then I will tell you one or two questions that came to me after we did the courses. Some of them writes, one of them writes, I've kept the names of the companies blank. So this person says, in my opinion, he was asked this in my previous interviews with so-and-so company and again so-and-so company, both are multinational companies. I have noticed that if I answer one question wrong, then I get nervous and all my next questions I am not able to answer properly. So this is a behavioral question. You need to develop this. Ask your family members to ask you questions you don't know. Okay, ask your friends to ask you questions you don't know, and find out how you're answering. Like I said, don't get nervous. Each one of us makes mistakes. Each one of us are limited in our knowledge. So it's okay if you don't know something, but you can always tell them that, sir, I am not in a position to answer this, but I know where I can get this information, right? So I will get back to you, and I get back to you on this. And then you make a note. Like I said, once you make a note, then the person knows that he is asking you, and you are learning from that. So these are the three attributes. And nervousness, you have to be calm. You have to do your research. If you do your research, if you do this, you do your research 80%, and you go to a website and you learn about the company, most importantly, you will pass your interview. You will know, you will get that confident, and there will be very few question answers that you cannot, because they are anyway asking basic questions. Then there was another candidate who wrote to me and saying that, sir, being the only son, I was asked who will take care of my parents when I was on board. What should my answer? Now remember, when I was talking to you, I was telling you about family attributes. They will want to know what kind of family structure you have, because companies are very scared of people who wants to just picks up the phone and says, sir, I need to go home tomorrow. Provided there is no emergency, somebody is not expired, or somebody is not in medically under medical emergency. They want to know whether you are safe, not only safe on board, whether you don't have that much pull from the shore that you need to come on and off, on and off, on and off. So I have done recruitment for many, many years at the highest level. So I have dealt with a lot of seafarers in my life, and a lot of seafarers who I remember one seafarer. I know he was joining in China, and it took 13 days to get a Chinese visa, and the person who he was relieving had a death in the family. So I was wanting to relieve that under any cost, and we got a chief officer to join that vessel, and we prepared him. We did the training, we did the documentation, we did everything, and on the day of joining, he says, sir, I cannot join because my dog died. Now, you get to learn, if you're good in marketing and if you're good in manning, you get to learn one thumb rule, which I always use, and that thumb rule is that the seafarer is always right? So even if the seafarer is wrong, which I think is wrong, so seafarer is always right. So rule number one. Rule number A is seafarer is always right. Rule number B is seafarer is wrong, then turn to rule number one, that seafarer is always right. So we are all human beings, and if a dog has died, a dog has died. I mean, if you're so close to a dog, some people are close to their parents as much as they are close to their dogs, so as their pets. So I could not send that person on board, and he told me, sir, and he later joined after 15 days. He joined, but he joined another ship because that time the Chinese visa I couldn't make for him. But I knew something from this, and that it is very important to know the family structure and what kind of structure you have in your family, because when you're going on board, if you have something which will bring you back immediately, then you need to discuss this with the company, right? Then the company needs to discuss this with you. So if you have only an ailing parent, for example, only an ailing mother or ailing father in the house, and you're the only son, please have your answers ready as how you're going to take care of your father or mother who's ailing and who's sick, and when you're going there on the ship. So don't prepare the answer when you are in the interview table, right? This is not what, so they want to know whether you are the only son and you're taking care of them. So the answer should have been, although my parents are very important, but I have that sausage sorted out. and I know that I will be able to come back giving you notice, but I don't need to, because I have an aunt who's going and coming every day, and because of the money I will earn on board, I will use it to keep a housemaid, and I will keep a nurse, and then so immediately that position is not theirs that I need to stay with them. I can manage for the duration of the contract plus minus 1 month to be on board and then come back. That should be the answer. If you tell them, no sir, I don't know, tomorrow I'm going there, my father is really very sick and he needs hospitalization every week, and there is nobody, I don't have a brother, I don't have a sister, so I don't know how to manage this time. So obviously they will not going to recruit you, right? So family structure is important, and they ask you because they want to find out whether you have any pull, and you just going to pick up the phone and say I want to come back, right? So gentlemen, before I go on to the next slide, so this was my presentation. I went out slightly a little bit faster because I wanted to cover as much as possible over the last 1 hour. I have a book which is called Mind Over Water. It was Maritime Industry's first book on leadership development and team building. And I do coach and train a lot of people now, of course, online. So if anyone does not have the book yet, it is already on board more than 75 company vessels. It has sold more than 4,000 copies in the last 3 years. Plus, it is on the syllabus of IMS Goa. If there is any IMS Goa candidate here, you must have studied my book in your syllabus. So if you have, there are a lot of, so this book is on leadership and team building. So many of you want to become leaders. So if you want to know how to become a leader from step by step, so you can get this book. It's on Amazon Kindle now at very, very reduced rate, lockdown rates. So you just go to Amazon and type Mind Over Water and you get the Kindle version. You don't need a Kindle reader. You can download a Kindle version from the Amazon and get the ebook, right? Or you can write to me. I will give you the link, right? So some of our courses, and we do a lot of online workshops, lectures. We have a very good group of students who follow us and over LinkedIn and social networking platforms. And some of our so we are also into life coaching leadership. If you want personal one-to-one coaching, you can contact me. I'm into personal life coaching on leadership and success. If you want organizational success, our courses which are coming up and which should be very good for all of you is the interview preparation detailed workshop. It's again a 3 hours workshop on interview preparation detail. We are going to go question by question, and we are also going to give out a question bank for cadets and engineers, more than 100 questions of what is generally asked in the interviews. Developing presentation skills, some of you need to know this, and by God's grace, I've been working on presentations for the last 15 years, and I've done my master's in virtual training, and so presentation skills, I'm going to do a 3-hour lecture on it's a 2 hours lecture on how to do presentation skills. I'm going to take you step by step into how you can effectively do PowerPoints and also different other kinds of presentations, and with the latest technology now, and how you can impress the really, really good and get your message across to a large audience or your organization or to your friends, or do what you want to do, right? We are also launching a program on advanced Excel. Excel can talk to you. I work with people who actually talk to Excel. They'll tell them you do this and the Excel does that. I have learned a lot from them, and some of the experts are going to come and take this training of advanced Excel. So, and these are all very, 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 very minimized cost, and for the cadets and TMAs and for the sailors. So once I launch this course, you can send us a WhatsApp and I will let you know when we have called this. We're also working on a course which is transition to the offshore. The offshore is a huge industry. I worked in the offshore industry of recruitment and quality and compliance for the last many years. So, and it's opening up now. It went through a bad patch, but it's opening up. A lot of offshore companies like DP and the oil rigs. And I found that there's very little knowledge that mainline guys have about the offshore. So I'm going to have a course on transitioning to offshore from the mainline. So I'm going to bring one of the very, very experts from the field of offshore and people who have actually transitioned from our mainline to offshore and what they're doing, and the oil rigs and mechanical engineers. There are a lot of good opportunities for engineers, right? So I'm going to have, these are the courses which are happening in August and September, other than all the other courses, technical courses we have. If you want to contact me, and the name of my company is the Naval Connection. I have a Mind Over Water. I also have a magazine, run a magazine called Sea Link. That's India's first ever audio visual magazine. So please, people who are there on Instagram, please follow us on TNC_training in Instagram. Facebook, we have thousands of followers, and we have @ Mind Over Water, Shaukat's Mind Over Water. Please you can send me a contact friend request on LinkedIn. I have 25,000 followers on LinkedIn. So Captain Shaukat Mukherjee, and Instagram shaukat.mukherjee. You can mail me directly at shaukat@thenavalconnection.com, and you can visit my website at captainshaukat.mukherjee.com. So gentlemen, thank you very much. I'll stop sharing now, and I will want to thank all of you for your time, and I hope this is been good for you. And I want to just go and have a small chat session now. If I'll just see if you can put your questions on the chat. Right, let me see. I was not monitoring the chat, and my God, so many questions. Hi everybody. So it's very good to see all of you out here, and very good discussion. And I will just see if there is any question in the chat. Is there any question? What about the questions? A lot of interviews try to trick the cadets in them. What about the questions? A lot of interviewers try to trick the cadets in them. See, normally the interviewers will not try to trick you, apart from a few exceptions where they want to trick you and find out how you react in such circumstances. So there are various interviews levels. So in that advanced course, when I do, I will give you rooms where each room will be there with one interviewer, and you will have a general interview, you will have a stress interview, there are different kinds of interview where the interviewer wants to find out how you will react in different circumstances, right? What about the hours question? Okay. Marine engineers for 4 years is a broad subject. So what does basic questions could be? Basic questions could be anything. When I spoke to the interviewers, and they told me that when they go to interview third-year students, they asked second-year questions. So you are not supposed to know everything. You're not supposed to know, but then even if it's a huge question, if you're working in third year, if you're studying in third year, then you are supposed to know the first year and the second year question. You can't say that I've forgotten, right? So the basic questions are that you will just, they want to ask you the basic stuff, not the formulas, not the very, very high end stuff, right? Even in the ROR, they've stopped asking definitions. They will want to ask you the understanding of the rules. Okay. So some of the companies conducting group discussions, how can we prepare for that? Of course, that's another lecture, another course. When I do the interview selection workshop, I will have the group discussions. Group discussions is a very, very good opportunity for you to make a mark. And basically they see the leadership and how much some people just keep quiet throughout the group discussion. Some people take the leadership and talk. So there are certain tips and certain skills that you need to share and they need to find out. So that's, of course, you can come and join us for the advanced course. Okay, what kind of internship or training skills can we develop during the pandemic, and how? Yeah, the pandemic has taught us immense kind of skills. The most important skill which I see is self-development and being a keen learner. So I did my, I've used it like I follow. So I've used it to the best of my advantage, because I found out that it was in the pandemic time that the people were charging the minimum. And so the courses which were sometimes in thousands and thousands and thousands of rupees were being, I could do the courses in hundreds. And so I did my certification in life coaching for life. And this is the months I've always wanted to do it, but I didn't want to spend that much money. But then now it's for almost half the price. Then I did my master's in virtual training. So I've utilized the time. So this is the time when you can do many courses online and get as many course certificates and get the skills, not only the certificates, get the skills. So this is a great way to develop yourself. Right. Any advice on the approach to be taken for technical knowledge preparations? Of course, you can take. See, the problem is, and this has come from Parthiv, and Parthiv has attended many of my courses. Parthiv, the problem is people don't want to spend time in learning. People want everything in a platter. So, and I don't mean only hard work. So I like when I get up in the morning, my hands are full. So I get up at 5 o'clock, sometimes 6 o'clock, okay, but most of them 5 o'clock, and then I I I have my hands full, and the first 2 and 3 hours are spent in my day only on learning. So I don't do marketing. I don't do I don't write my book. I just learn. So I'm on the course, any course which I have entitled in. I just learn. So people need to spend time and allocate some hour, 1 hour at least every day. If you can do everything in your life in that 24 hours in your house, and all of us are in the house now, 1 hour or even 45 minutes a day, you need to. And at this learning, I'm not talking about the institutional learning that you have to do online in your institute. I'm talking about the non-institutional learning which you are doing for self-development, right? Go to blogs, uh, subscribe to blogs, subscribe to videos, go to YouTube, learn something. So learn something extraordinary, which some skills that you don't have. People should spend at least 45 minutes every day on that. Nowadays, company take cadets on contract. Then what is the use of having long-term career in the company? Uh, this is not true. Cadets on contract is only a very, very few percentage of the companies taking. All of them, and there's a huge work going on in the IMO, International Maritime Organization, for on the cadetship program. Most of the larger companies want to invest on cadets, because if you see, most of the companies, they have their own cadet training programs. So they have their own. You see Great Eastern, you see Anglo Eastern, you have fleet management. All of them have their own institutes. Why? Executive? Why are they spending so much money on cadets? And it's not only for profits, but because they want to have a pool where they can home grow their own cadets, so that they come back on their ship. So believe me, only a handful companies will take cadets on contract. And if you are joining any larger companies, all of them, 95% of the larger companies will only want cadets who will come back to them, right? And they will home grow and nurture cadets. For big companies, cadet retention is a major part. Can learning risk management and nutrition courses during the pandemic work in interviews? Of course, and thanks for reminding Satyasan Navy, Satsahan Navy, and I forgot in my upcoming course, there's 2 more courses which I forgot to. One is the lifeboat safety, and the other is risk assessment. So risk assessment is there, and not only for shipping, for everybody in our lives. Like I said, you need risk assessment even to cross the road. Risk assessment can definitely increase your all-round knowledge and help you to answer questions. Right. Can you share this PPT? My friend, sharing this PPT is my lecture is more important than the PPT. I always say, listen to my lecture. I think I have, I don't even record this lecture because, so I'm going to do this again. Just type in your chat box very honestly if you think this lecture has been helpful for you. Just type whatever you want as a feedback, because I like to be, I like to share my knowledge. I like to share my skills in every way that I can for the betterment of the industry, and I'm always there for cadets and TMEs. So, okay, many candidates forget basic answers even after being a sole scholar student. Maybe one started a panic. How overcome such panics? If we couldn't answer one question, we start to panic. How to overcome it? So this question is coming back over and over again. How to get panic? So in order to tackle panic and manage panic has nothing to do with the maritime industry, right? Managing panic is civilization, is a skill which goes beyond civilization, Harappa and Mohenjo-daro. So there's always been panic for husbands, panic for wives, panic for son, daughter, children, school teachers, everybody. You need to handle panic. You need to do meditation. You need to do yoga. Take a LIFO training, in the sense that go to a site and then type out your behavioral training, that how you work. Some people, panic is necessary for a work. I remember when I was in V Group, I was nominated to take a leadership workshop in Middle Astle, London for 7 days. And Sir Tony Roycroft, the most famous leadership coach, was taking the workshop. And we did a LIFO program. There was a 3 hours program on taking an assessment online. And ultimately, they give you a very book of understanding. And I found out that I work best when I'm stressed. So I work to optimum levels when I'm stressed. So even I saw that in the Manning when I used to get any requirement which I used to fulfill, which I had to fulfill in the next few hours, I used to stop all jobs and try to fulfill those. I work best when I'm. So panic is something which you need to overcome, and there can be medical problems because of panic, but you need to know, talk to somebody who can help you, talk to a counselor, talk to a psychiatrist. Unfortunately, in our countries, talking to a psychiatrist will give you a perception that you're mad, you're crazy. No, every each one of us needs our own psychiatrist. So talk to people and find out how to react when you're panic stricken. Effect of COVID in shipping industry. That's beyond the scope of this lecture. I'm sorry. I can go on speaking for another full day on the industry, but it's good that you should read more about the effect. Should be ask interviewer for note down. I don't know what you mean for that. Sir, will a basic course in yoga give an upper hand? Yes. But I don't believe a basic course can help you. Yoga has to be a part of your daily structure. So the yoga has to be a part of your daily structure. Please, meditation, like I said, some people do meditation, some people do yoga, and you need to practice some of them each day, but at least one of them each day. Will it if I let the interviewer know that I practice yoga? Of course, it will help. But if you don't practice yoga, and if you say that you're practicing yoga, and if the interviewer says, "Abhi sar pe khada hoke dikhao," and you can't do it, so that's again, if you're practicing yoga, you're not practicing yoga because you need to answer the interviewer. You're practicing yoga to build up yourself well. So the ultimate objective is not to answer the interview questions, because it will happen. But ultimate objective is to get that skill into your blood system. Should we ask interviewer for nothing, noting down the questions we are not able to answer or don't know? No, I mean, you should not ask. You should have the notes, notepad close to you, and you should take down the notes. And when the interview asks you, you say, "Sir, I'm trying to learn all the questions that I don't know. I'm writing it down." No, you don't need to ask them if you want to write down something, but you can tell them that, "Sir, I like writing down questions that I don't know so that I can go back and learn." But recording, yes, you cannot record in your mobile without letting them know, because it's a moral offense, it's a legal offense also. Right? So, gentlemen and ladies, thank you very much. I think I'll put my email ID again in the chat. So it's Shaukat at the navalconnection.com. If you have any questions, please feel free. Please follow us on the Instagram profiles, and I will come back to you with with the courses that are planned, so that you can stay in tune. We are planning a lot of skill development courses, and I want to share, like I said, I want to share all my skills and knowledge with all of you. And thank you, Devarati. Thank you to everybody. It was a really helpful session. I get a lot of fun out of speaking to people, and especially students. I get a lot of encouragement, a lot of motivation, and I've taken sessions in IMS Goa. I've taken sessions in a lot of sessions with students. I've spoken to hundreds and thousands of students over the years, and in seminars and workshops, and I get to learn a lot out of like when I interact with especially students, because I believe, remember one thing, and I'm talking to cadets and TMAs here, you are much smarter than what we were, right? I was not as smart as you, not even close to as smart as what you are at your age, when I was your age, okay? So you are the superior being now. You are the future of our maritime industry. We are gone. We have retired. We are not sailing anymore. We run organizations, we run institutes, but you are the ones who are going to take the shipping forward, and you are the ones who are going to run the ships. So you are the most valuable assets of the. In fact, my book, the first page of my book, is dedicated to the undying efforts of the seafarer, the most valuable assets of the sea career. So you are much smarter than what we were. So you have the technology. You are much smart than technology. But that's something that you require, not only your smartness, but the experience of all the senior people also in the industry. So it's a blend. It's not only that you can only run to be successful in the industry. Industry has to be successful with the proper blend and balance that your smartness will bring in, and the experience, experience of the future, of the older generation, of the senior most guys. So you have to learn, to try to learn as much as you can from the senior people, and also try and help them with things that they don't know. So it's called reverse mentoring. It's not only mentoring, but it's reverse mentoring. The industry is successful only, not only mentoring, but also in reverse mentoring, right? Right. Okay, so if this is the thing, so I would like to end my session here saying a goodbye. Have a great evening and lots of learning for you. And write to us and follow us on our Instagram and Facebook handles. And of course, we have a WhatsApp. We will you can WhatsApp me and on our courses, and keep supporting us as nicely as you've done. And I'm going to come back at you every week with a very nice talk and very useful talk on how you can build yourself up. And whatever I know, I would rather, and I would greatly want to share with you. So my next talk, I can go, just give me a WhatsApp or give me an email on what you would want me to talk about. I want to talk about leadership and sharing of skills and how you can become a leader. So I will base my talk next time on leaderships and how you can progress and be successful. See, the question is not to just be there in the industry and just leave. The question is being there and achieving your dreams. So if you are dreaming to be a multi-millionaire and you can actually get your dreams, there is nothing which can stop you. Only thing that can stop you is yourself. So my next talk can be on how to get your dreams, how to realize what you're dreaming. So we have to dream big and realize what your dream is, right? Right. So goodbye, and hope to attend such sessions, and have a nice evening, sir. Hope to attend and hope to be with you. So I am leaving the meeting now, and thank you very much. Till we meet again, it's goodbye and namaskar. This is Captain Shaukat Mukherjee signing off.